Since we've been back on the air, we have received confirmation that former National Security Advisor to Donald Trump, John Bolton, has been indicted. As Andrew and Glenn have pointed out, there are facts still to emerge. It is also a fact that he said of Donald Trump, quote, "I don't think he's fit for office. I don't think he has the competence to carry out the job. There's no guiding principle that I was able to discern other than what's good for Trump's election." He also said about Donald Trump, what he was capable of on a daily basis was doing something more and more outrageous than the day before. John Bolton spent a lot of time on television. He's a prolific writer. He's been in Republican politics for decades. And he made his disapproval and dislike of Donald Trump's temperament and lack of convictions well known. He did not go to the natural extension of that and support his opponent in the 2024 election. He was a policy critic of both President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. He served, though, in the Trump administration at some of the most tumultuous times. He penned a book called The Room Where It Happens. And today, where are we at? October 16th, on the 9th month of Donald Trump's second term, one of Donald Trump's fiercest critics of both his lack of fitness and lack of core values or policy orientation has been indicted. I go to you, Andrew Weissmann.
So let's look at the three people who have been charged. What is the message? What is going on here? So what this says to the future Letitia James, the future James Comey's, the people who are doing their job, who are trying to bring either civil cases. Letitia James, it brought a civil case. James Comey referred a criminal matter with lots of factual predication. This is sending a message: don't do it, because in the future, this can be the result. If you don't want to get indicted, put your head down and don't do your job. Now, I think it's particularly significant with respect to now indicting somebody who was an insider. And I think that's the reason that you have this indictment. Again, there may be more to it when we see the charges. But one of the things that it accomplishes by doing this, by attacking Chris Krebs, by attacking Miles Taylor, people who used to be inside, is to say, do not speak sort of ill of Donald Trump. Do not go out and say anything that is derogatory, particularly if you are on the inside. You must be loyal. I think it goes to Glenn's point about seeing three people, the three leaders of the Justice Department, the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, and the FBI Director, standing silent when they have a president doing something that violates sort of all norms and and basically using adjectives and adverbs in lieu of facts. And I think that is sort of like the way you can tie this all together in terms of what this president is trying to accomplish and the lasting harm to our country because of the message it sends about what can happen going forward to hold people to account for wrongdoing.
Glenn Thrush, a two-part question. Any new reporting you have that you can add to this? We obviously, part of the benefit of having you here is we get to hear it here as well. But let me just add this to it. I mean, we're talking about the treatment of critics through the prism of the rule of law, because Donald Trump has now crossed that Rubicon. And so even an entirely properly predicated investigation and prosecution of a public enemy, and you know, some of the things Bolton said, he was asked on CNN, do you agree with Mark Milley that Trump is a fascist? John Bolton, I don't think he's smart enough to have an ideology, basically too dumb to be a fascist. Well, that question was out there because his top three former generals, Jim Mattis, Mark Milley, and John Kelly, described him as, quote, fascistic to the core. John Kelly said he, quote, meets the technical definition of a dictator. The list of enemies is so long that if we're in month 9 and he's checked off 3, where are we heading?
Oh my God, I don't know. I know That sounds terrible. No, look, I think the other thing, Nicole, that is extraordinarily interesting here, that I don't think enough attention has been paid to. It's not just about choosing enemies; it's about choosing victims. One of the things that I think you'll notice, and let's talk about what's going on in Chicago and Portland, because in many ways it's just as important and very much tied into what we're experiencing here in Washington and Maryland and Virginia. You're seeing Harmeet Dillon, the head of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, posting 3 tweets and a video about a right-wing influencer who got into a fist fight with anti-ICE protesters, right? And saying that the department would bring the full force of its investigative power to look if any civil rights violations took place against that individual. By the same token, we just had a judge in Chicago order ICE and Border Patrol to wear body cams because they've been documented, and we've all seen these videos, firing pepper balls at priests, indiscriminate shooting out of tear gas. What we know at this point in time is that ICE has not begun a single internal investigation on any of the behavior of federal officials in any of these instances. The same goes true with the Department of Justice. I've asked them repeatedly. So as we're sort of looking at Trump targeting his enemies, it should also be noted that the department is also cherry picking who they choose to identify as a victim in a crime, and thus far choosing not to investigate or prosecute victims whose politics don't necessarily align with theirs. So this is part of a much larger suite of activity that's about who you choose to prosecute and also who you choose not to investigate.